The Buffalo Sabres select Sam Reinhart.
No-nonsense guy. There's the pick. And so Sam Reinhart joins Griffin and Max, his older brothers, as National Hockey League first-round picks. And their dad, Paul, of course, was a tremendous NHL player as well. And now the youngest Sam gets his chance, Greg.
You know, the first memory I do have is we called it Cookie Monsters at the club. I don't know if that's a Canadian term or you know, if it's a hockey term, but that's what we called it at the club where we grew up. I remember being on the ice, you know, skating around trying to learn to skate. I remember a yellow rope being dragged around the ice by my first coach, Jack Cummings, at the time. So those are some of the best memories I have, and certainly they're the earliest ones. You know, my parents always tell the story when, you know, one of the first few days back at home after I was born, they were looking for me, they couldn't find me.
His two older brothers dragged Sam up into the playroom when he was still in his car seat, and we couldn't find Sam for a while, and we finally tracked him down to figuring out where all the noise was coming from. And Max and Griffin, his older brothers, had taken him in the car seat and put him in the goal.
They had me in the car seat shooting balls on me. So they needed a goalie.
So Sam's first introduction to hockey was playing goal for the boys in their little road hockey upstairs.
That was the role I played, and you know, it's part of the reason why I'm here today.
I think Sam's career, right from the get-go, was always made easier by having two older brothers who had gone through the system. The system was significantly different than when I grew up. It was much more organized, so having the benefit of older brothers gone through it, he certainly had the ability to watch what they were doing and the process they went through. All three of them, they just constantly played sports, whether it was hockey, tennis, golf, soccer. They just constantly and all the time played sports together. And so it was just, again, the natural fit as a good young Canadian kid growing up is hockey. It seems to be the priority.
I knew Sam as a younger kid because I coached both of his older brothers prior to that. And you know, your thoughts about Sam were great kid, loved the game of hockey, super intelligent, and great work ethic, of course. And that Pee Wee team that he played on, it was really good. We had Griffin Reinhart, Morgan Riley, Alice Kerfoot, Sam Reinhart. Like, we had a good team. I think we always thought Sam was going to be an elite hockey player because his brothers were so good. And obviously his dad was a 10, 12-year NHL great defenseman. So we didn't know if Sam was going to be a great defenseman or a great forward when he was 12. I think we always knew he was going to be good, though. He was good from day one.
Some of my earliest memories were just playing on youth hockey teams. His dad would usually coach us, and playing with the two of them, Sam and Griffin, together was lots of fun, and a big reason why I got into hockey at a young age. For us growing up, it was more about having fun when I was playing at Hollyburn, and they did a great job of that. And then once we got older and guys started taking it seriously, it became more of a job.
It was awesome. It's just, you know, you had access to ice at all times. You know, we'd come back to the room in Bantam after the first game. We would take half our gear off and go to the smaller rink and just play for another couple hours while the midget games, while my older brothers were playing another game. So, you know, on the ice for about 5-6 hours that night, and you know, those hours add up, and it's just being out there, getting some work in, and enjoying and loving the game.
Maybe most importantly, when Sam left home to go into junior hockey, which is always a very difficult experience for these young kids to move out of home and move into a kind of almost a professional setting at a very young age. You know, his first roommate and line mate was his older brother Max. So he walked into a great scenario situation in Kootenay, where he walked in and had an ability to have an older brother presence immediately.
My first game in junior, I was very young, and they called me up, and it was with my one brother against my other brother. We played in the same division, so that was my first game at a very young age. Was able to score the game-winning goal in that game as well, so it was pretty cool. But and then at the end of that year, I was able to come up with my brother, and I wasn't playing very much. I was only playing a couple minutes if I was in the lineup, but we were able to win a championship together there. And then the next year, full-time, compete against our other brother in the same division, which was pretty fun.
Back to Philp again. One-timer by Deschanel, stopped, Reinhart scores. He's got two men going to the net, drops to Reinhart, scores!
Back up, Fioretti with Cook and White for the Warriors. Here's a quick shot, oh, Sam Reinhart off the left goal line, cuts to the circle, beating Sawchenko.
A prestigious honor, as large an individual honor as you can have in this league. The Player of the Year, what a year this gentleman had. Second half, absolutely amazing, and frankly, one of the smartest players I've ever seen come along in this league. From the Kootenay Ice, Sam Reinhart.
Yeah, it's a huge honor, obviously. Would like to congratulate Mitch again. Great year, could have just easily been you up here. The talent in this league is really amazing, and to be recognized is a really special feeling.
And how excited are you about the upcoming NHL draft?
Looking forward to it. Obviously, the hard work is done on ice standpoint, so looking forward to a big summer.
They want a Sam, they're going to get one, and it's much more likely to be Sam Reinhart of the Kootenay Ice than Sam Bennett. They've thought long and hard about that. Both are impressive young men. They've both got different qualities. Sam Reinhart, elite hockey sense, but I think Tim Murray was blown away by the way Reinhart played during the first round of the Calgary playoffs, as well as the full season.
It was pretty exciting, yeah. Like you said, I'd been there before. It was 2 years before, I think, at the draft where Griffin went with the first couple picks. So, I knew kind of how draining it was and kind of what to expect going forward. The biggest thing I probably learned was, it was just one night. There's so much, I think, draining leading into it and even after. So, it's where you're going through there is not going to help you on the ice next year. So there's a lot of other things you need to focus to prepare yourself to be ready the next year, wherever that may be.
The Buffalo Sabres select Sam Reinhart.
No nonsense guy, there's the pick. And so Sam Reinhart joins Griffin and Max, his older brothers, as National Hockey League first-round picks. And their dad, Paul, of course, was a tremendous NHL player as well. And now the youngest Sam gets his chance, Greg.
Good, how are you?
Hey guys, go ahead and write up the tape.
Yeah, super far. How's it going?
I've been prepared for it for a long time. I've certainly visualized myself in this uniform, and I'm just thrilled and ecstatic to really make an impact there and go to Buffalo for the first time. I feel ready to play, and it's a young team. I'm very familiar with that organization. Like I said, I've pictured myself in this uniform for quite some time, and I'm very excited, and I'm very motivated to step in the league next year, and with a young team that's developing very well, and to make an impact.
How big was that jump? Obviously, second overall pick, high expectations. When you finally make that jump from junior to the NHL with Buffalo, I know you got, I think it was 9 games a taste. Got to sit on that and then come back the next year and play a full season. What was that transition like? Kind of seeing firsthand what it's going to take.
Wasn't easy. A lot of things need to go right. Certainly we weren't in a great situation. It was certainly a tough couple of years in Buffalo, and it was better for me to go back for junior. I think the biggest thing I took was, you probably have to take away some things on the ice that year going back to junior, and it was a lot of off-ice training, getting ready to hopefully make the jump next year and be as primed as I possibly could. So, it was a lot of work off ice, honestly, that was able to prepare me for the following year.
Killorn working against Sam Reinhart over on the boards. It's given away. A save by Bishop. Tyler Ennis out in front. They score. It's jammed home by Reinhart. On the second try, the Sabres striking quickly inside 3 minutes. You saw Tyler Ennis on the first try, and then Reinhart scoring his first NHL goal. This is his 14th game in the NHL.
That moment was obviously exciting. It was. I was presented a really good opportunity to play some big minutes on the top line with O'Reilly and Tyler Ennis. You know, two of the best players I've ever played with, smartest players I've ever played with. So, you know, I remember, I think it was kind of off the cycle. I'm not sure which one of them found me right in the slot and was able to put it in 5-hole. Early on when I came in, there was certainly a few. You know, O'Reilly, I was able to see his work ethic, you know, see what he was able to do on the ice, how he prepared, you know, the time he spent working on his craft. Guys like Matt Molson, Kyle Oposo, you know, Oki's one of my best friends to this day. You know, Mols was really early and just, he was so good off the ice to young guys, so welcoming, Zach Bogosian as well. But Oki's probably the guy that's, you know, been the most important person I've met, you know, in my career that hockey's kind of led me towards, and that's how he handles himself at the rink, how he handles himself at home. So certainly the biggest impact I would say since I've come into the league, and then coming in with Eichel was certainly pretty exciting, and you know, to see the work ethic he had, how driven he was to be one, and obviously now one of the best players in the world. So to see his path to get there and what it took and how driven he was pretty special as well.
You know, half of those have been into an empty net.
Set up, score! Sam Reinhart with 3.2 seconds remaining in the second period.
A chance here for Reinhart. Backhand score! They'll be calling him Super Sam at this rate. Buffalo again with another one, 7-2.
And looking at where the Panthers are at right now in terms of, you know, the pieces they have, you know, how good their season was this last year, just how excited are you to join this team kind of on its upswing here in South Florida?
It's very exciting to say the least. You know, I've actually been fortunate enough to play with a number of guys already on the roster. You know, been in contact with a bunch of guys already, coaches. So, you know, I'm absolutely thrilled and motivated to come to a group that is hungry, you know, trying to make it to the next step. You know, and they have in my mind the most motivated player coming in to come into an organization like that is trying to make that next step and win some meaningful games.
I've noticed as Sam has matured and he's gotten older, he's become even more and more dedicated because he really does understand what it takes to achieve the ability to play at a high elite level on a game-by-game basis.
He's a player, like he competes so hard. He demands a lot from himself and also like from his line mates, but like mostly himself. Like if he doesn't give you the one pass on the tape, which doesn't happen a lot, he will be hard on himself. But you just see like he wants to win so bad, and just every decision he does on the ice, it's just comes so natural, and it's always smart and right decisions.
Sam's a player that actually I don't think he's reached his peak because he processes the game so well. He will learn and continue to learn as a player, and he's maybe the smartest player, one of the smartest players I've ever coached. Really intelligent with his line mates, with his team, with flow of the game. So I think he's going to hit possibly, they all hit a certain physical plateau where he's very, very fit. He's a very strong athlete, but he will continue mentally to absorb the game.
You obviously helped a lot with that with your game-winning goal. In the moment, no idea that's going to be the game winner. But when you're a kid, after Game 7, sitting a pile, you're in the driveway saying, game-winning goal, Sam Reinhart. As time has passed, you look back at it. What is it like watching that moment now and knowing you were able to do that? And did you dream about that as a kid?
Reinhart at the right wing side. Reinhart to the right circle. A shot, and he scores! Sam Reinhart gives the Panthers a 2-1 lead.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the game you're playing in the backyard or in your playroom. That's the moment. You know, not many people have that opportunity. You could play 20 years and never have that opportunity. You know, I'm not sure. I think since I've been in the league, there's only been a handful of Game 7s in the Stanley Cup Finals. So, you know, I think just to have that opportunity is special. You know, in the moment, it was somewhat early. There was still about 25 minutes left in the game, and the way it was being played, you know, I knew right when I went in that could have been it. Certainly, there was a lot that had to happen. There was a lot that had to go right in that third period to hang on to it. But you know, it's something I'm going to hang on to forever. You know, taking the cup out of the case for the first time in Vancouver and finally seeing it on there. You know, surrounded by my whole family. You know, that's what you see. You see Reinhart on there, and you're going to see that forever. So it's a long path to that point, and you know, my family, they're the biggest contributors to you know, my success and us getting the name on there. Honestly, I probably wouldn't tell my younger self what's to come. I would just say to focus on the thing that's going to prepare you to feel the best in that moment. You know, it was a lot of long hours, a lot of work. You know, certainly a lot of long summers in my first couple of years in the league, and taking advantage, you know, of getting physically ready for this moment. You know, and that's why I feel good with my game now, and that's why I feel like I'm at my best.